Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the best damn Panthers podcast that you've ever witnessed. I'm your host, Tanner Blue, along with Dave LaFave. Welcome back, Primetime Carolina, baby. What's going on? How you doing?
Man, I'm good, and I am ready for this draft to be over because it is
Oof.
making my mind twist and turn a million different ways, and I just can't take it anymore.
I feel like every year I say this, but every year the draft feels like it's just further and further away than the previous draft. It always takes me like it just feels like it takes forever to get there. And I know a couple of years ago they even proposed to move it back in May, and I was like, absolutely not. You can't do that. I need the draft now. I need it now.
I know. You get so starving for football, and it's just like a little crumb of whatever you can get.
I know.
It's like a full course meal.
It's funny because I'm usually not really a mock draft guy, but this past season I have been. I think it's just because the Panthers are picking so high. So I'm like, okay, I might know somebody they're drafting. But usually, like, I'm not big on mock drafts because it's just a crapshoot most of the time outside of the first, like, one or two picks. But it's no matter what, it's so interesting to see what people think and to see, like, what's going to happen. So I know you've been playing around with mock drafts. I've been looking at a ton this offseason. So I'm ready to get things going.
Yeah, it's interesting because that you talk about how much of a crapshoot it is. Because I was just out of curiosity, I was kind of messing with some mocks and you
Yeah.
know, and like you said, I've never been a big mock guy, but for whatever reason, I've just been more into trying to, look at it. And I was looking at some mocks. I was playing with my own mocks. And then I went back and I was like, I wonder how these things usually pan out. So I went back and looked at one. It was a CBS Sports mock from 2017. And I think I counted 2 correct picks out of the entire first round. Like the whole – and that's just how mock drafts go. But for some reason, we feel the need to continue to bring them to the table.
I know it's just and then your guys that do like the whole 7-round mock draft. I'm like, listen,
Exactly.
I know you got to get clicks to your page. I know what you're doing, but there's just actually respect to those guys because there's no way I can name that many players off a board and type them in and post an article about it.
No, I think at that point, it's like you're literally just like going to whatever source you have to see, ESPN.com or whatever, see the team's needs, and then just you have to be plugging in players because there's no
Oh,
way you could possibly know
no way,
that
absolutely
much
not.
about all those guys.
Like, and then it's always funny when like we miss on someone in like the 4th or 5th round. And then like, oh God, I wanted that guy in the 5th round. I'm like, how do you know that? Like the
Right.
guy's a 5th round pick. Like, how do you know what he's going to be?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's wild. And man, all the stuff that's been coming out in the past week or so. I mean, it feels like it's something new every hour. Every time I look at the TV, or my phone or whatever, it's like this team's doing this team's doing this team's doing this. These guys are trading up. These guys are trading back. They want him. It's between this guy and this guy. And it's like, man, it just spins you in a million different directions trying to keep up with it. And it's like, I'm so ready for it to be over. So, because I feel like you just start talking about all the other teams more than you even talk about your team, when it comes to the draft, because you're talking about at least the 7 teams in front of us and what they're going to do. It's like,
correct.
I can't wait till we can just like talk about our team again because it's all too much, man. With 32, I can't do it.
I know. It's a lot. But so what we decided to do is that we were going to do our own mini mock draft, just the first 10 picks. We didn't want to get too crazy because anything outside of that, I'm probably going to get wrong, and I don't really care to go that far into it. So we're going to do the first 10 picks of the draft, maybe a couple after to see how we're feeling. Um, we'll do you announce your first pick. I'll do my first pick. We have not talked about this, who we think is going to go where. So this is all up in the air. So we'll start it off with the biggest question of the draft is who was going to go number 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dave, after all the consideration and everything, after all the tape you've watched, who are the Jaguars picking number 1?
Man, they're going with Mac Jones at the top of the draft.
You know it, man.
All right, we'll go out on a limb and put Trevor Lawrence right there.
Yeah, I think he might be all right. But in all seriousness, how it's obviously tough to say because he hasn't played yet, but how good do you think he's going to be? Because I had the whole Andrew Luck, when Andrew Luck came out, well, really, it was supposed to come out 2011 to us, but he didn't. The next year he comes out to the Colts. It's the same thing. Best prospect since John Elway, since whoever. And don't get me wrong, Andrew Luck had a very, very solid career, a very good career. He had a lot of injuries, but I feel like he never really lived up to that legendary status that he was hyped up. I don't really think that's his fault. I think that's just kind of the media hyping him up. What are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence at the pro level? We obviously know he's going to be good, but is he going to be as good as advertised?
Personally, I'm not so sure about it, but we'll see. I mean, I almost wonder if it's similar to Andrew Luck, where it's like he's just kind of been the chosen one for so long that it's like he's finally here.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I totally expect him to do well in the NFL, but people are definitely setting the bar high because you already hear people comparing him to Peyton Manning, and understandably so. But at the same time, even if you're just comparing the players they were coming out of college, as soon as you throw out a name like that, people start building those expectations super high, super fast.
Yep.
So, I want to give the guy a fair shot to be his own person because, if he comes out week one and he's not, MVP Peyton Manning, the critics are going to be there that quick because that's just the world we live in these days. So I'm going to try and be patient with him, but yeah, I expect him to do a lot of good things for sure. And who knows, he could be the next, Tom Brady, but we'll see.
I agree. I think he's going to be great. Will he be that level that everyone talks about? That's going to be something that's, we're going to have to wait and see. Because even though you get these quarterbacks in situations where, they have great talent, but the Jaguars have notoriously been a pretty bad franchise, not necessarily the best coaching, the best culture. So, it's a lot more than just having a great player. You got to be able to build around it. I know they've got Urban Meyer. I like Urban Meyer personally. Will he do well in the NFL? I hope so. But that'll be something we have to see. But I think he's going to do very well his first year. But will he be able to live up to that godlike status? We'll see.
Exactly.
That'll be determined. So for number one, obviously I go with Trevor Lawrence as well. So for my number two pick, I think this is pretty much a shoe-in as well. I got Zach Wilson going to the Jets.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, I guess we'll get into it in a little bit about I don't understand why Justin Fields is suddenly like this outcast and why he's suddenly like nobody sees him going in the top 3 anymore. But
yeah, I mean, you could be like Chris Sims having him going 32 to the Bucks.
Yeah, I saw that. So he's got him going all the way at 32, and it's like when the season ended, he was the consensus number 2 and he was going to the Jets. So nothing against Zach Wilson, but I don't really understand why Justin Fields was so quick to get pushed out of that spot and even the next spot, really, according to what people are saying. But
yeah,
it's just we're gonna have to see, man. We're gonna have to see what happens. But yeah, I have Zach Wilson going number 2 as well.
It's interesting because when the draft, when we knew that we were going to be picking 8, we kind of knew we were going to be in that top 10 before we got Sam Darnold, before this, before that. Like you said, the number 2 pick was Justin Fields, and we were kind of on the Zach Wilson train, or at least I was. The whole majority of the fan base was like, yeah, let's hope we can get this guy, him or Trey Lance. Justin Fields wasn't really even in the conversation. And then now, a couple months later, it's just like they find random things about the guy that they don't like. It's very strange. I've never really seen a quarterback picked apart like that for certain things. I disagree completely. But regarding Zach Wilson, I think the kid has all the talent in the world. He kind of came out of nowhere, just like popped out of thin air. He just turned into this great player. Hasn't faced the best competition. I'm not necessarily worried about him. I'm worried about, what he's going to be around the organization. The Jets, once again, a notoriously bad franchise. Let's see if they can do it right and they can build around him properly, because he's not going to be able to come out and do, Patrick Mahomes things in his first year with the talent that he's got around. It's just not going to happen. got to be able to build around this guy. So I think he's going to be a very good player if the coaching is good and they properly build around him, unlike what they did with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, right, exactly. And in watching Zach Wilson, to me, I mean, again, you don't like to throw, comparisons out there to Hall of Fame quarterbacks,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just not fair and it starts building those expectations. But when I look at him, I mean, I can see some Aaron Rodgers-esque uh,
Yeah,
type of ability, to move around in the pocket and throw from weird angles, rolling left, rolling right, throwing across his body, whatever he's got to do to get the ball to where it needs to go.
correct.
And I've kind of felt that way all along about him, but you don't, like I said, you don't like to say it out loud because you start putting way too high of expectations in the guy's lap. But
Correct.
like you said, I think he's got all the talent in the world. It just depends on what he can do with it and how the Jets are going to help him. Because if they don't do some things to change that situation, he's walking into the same situation Sam Darnold was in, and obviously things didn't work out. So, you
I
know,
agree.
you
So
know,
yeah, I think
we'll see.
so. We're definitely on the same mindset for 1 and 2 pick. So the number 3 pick is really when the draft starts.
Yep.
This is when, we know there's going to be a quarterback taken in this spot, but we don't know who. This is when everything starts. We've heard the speculation, this, that, and the other. Number 3, San Francisco 49ers. Who are they picking and why?
I'm going to go with Mac Jones, I guess. There's a lot of voices in the back of my head telling me that can't possibly be what they're doing. But from what I've most recently read, it's between him and Trey Lance. And I think what I saw said that John Lynch and a lot of the other people in the organization want Trey Lance, but Shanahan is going to have the final say, and he likes Mac Jones because he's the play caller. He's going to have the final say. So that was the last thing I said. So I'm just going to go with, assume that's true. I don't know who reported it. It could have been someone's great uncle. I don't know. But I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to put Mac Jones number 3.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I am also going with Mac Jones just because this is all I keep hearing about. That I've heard the Trey Lance stuff. As a matter of fact, I think that Trey Lance is the better long-term answer 3-4 years down the road. But the 49ers, even though they're a young team, they're built to compete now.
Right.
And I
That's why
feel
they
like
traded up.
they know the spot they're in. They were in the Super Bowl a couple years back with virtually the same team. So they know they need a quarterback to compete. Now I think for whatever reason, Shanahan thinks Mac Jones can come in and compete now. He might be the most pro-ready other than Trevor Lawrence. Upside, I think he's very similar to the whole – I'm not, like you said, comparisons, but look at Shanahan, who he's coached. He's had Kirk Cousins. He's had Matt Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
2 guys that aren't super mobile, big arms, kind of in that area. And that's kind of what I think about Mac Jones, maybe the Kirk Cousins-esque quarterback, which isn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not what you want at number 3, but for whatever reason, he thinks he can get this guy and he thinks he can win now with him. Personally, I would go with Trey Lance for the better long-term answer. Well, if it was me, I'd pick Justin Fields at him, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I agree. I think it's going to be Mac Jones.
Yeah, we'll see. And I can definitely see the Matt Ryan in there, and that's the comparison. He's got a lot, and obviously Shanahan had a lot of success with Matt Ryan. So definitely, man, we'll see what happens. So I guess we're gonna agree on that one. Let's look
All
at
right.
number 4. What do you think?
Number 4. See, number 3 is when the draft. We know it starts. Number 4 is when it
Really starts.
really starts because we
Yeah.
know that. We know what positions are going to be 1, 2, and 3. 4 is when the whole everything comes off. So there's a lot that Atlanta could do with this pick. They could trade down. They could take a quarterback to go for the future. They could add a weapon. There's a lot of ways they can go, and they need a little bit of everything. I've heard the speculation about them going for quarterback. I don't buy it. I think it's going to really piss us off because of being Panthers fans. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to take Kyle Pitts because he's the best player available. And, that's going to increase Matt Ryan's, lifespan at the quarterback position. I've heard the rumors they could be trading Julio. I doubt it. Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, that's 35 plus a game.
Right. Yeah, something to keep an eye on there. By the way, Kyle Pitts, I almost put in that slot, but I put Trey Lance. I think they do grab a quarterback. There was a report that Kyle Pitts said he felt like the Falcons had lost interest in him because they wanted to get a quarterback again. Who knows? I went ahead and put Trey Lance there.
Okay.
It's everything we already know about Trey Lance. He's young, he's athletic, he's got a huge arm, he can play, and this will give him a chance to learn behind Matt Ryan for, at least a year or two. Something to look at there, though, is, like you said, you weren't buying the Falcons trading Julio Jones. Well, whether they trade him or not, his career will be ending soon. So it would be interesting to see if they, grab Jamar Chase there instead, or even try to trade down. I've seen a rumor that the Patriots want that pick.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they want Trey Lance or Justin Fields right there. So it could get real crazy real quick come Thursday night.
And I should have mentioned this before we started this. There's a good chance that there's going to be like 2 or 3 trades in these picks. Mm-hmm. My mock draft, I didn't do any trades because it's just hard to predict. I'm just saying if it stays the way it is, obviously there's probably going to be a trade or two, but we'll see. So I like the Lance pick for them. I think that's a good long-term pick because that gives the perfect situation for him to sit behind Matt Ryan for a year or two, develop, and then come out year 3, and then,
and hopefully be a bust.
Yes, absolutely. That'd be great. But okay, so finally different opinions there. We moved to number 5, Cincinnati Bengals. It's between 2 guys, Jamar Chase and Penei Sewell.
Yep.
Give me your opinion. Who do you got Cincinnati picking number 5?
Well, I think, obviously it comes down to those 2 guys. We all know what happened to Joe Burrow last year and how his season ended, so it makes sense for them to grab a left tackle. For me, I went ahead and put Chase in there because that was, his favorite target at LSU. Mm-hmm. That is a big-time wide receiver. That's a game-changing wide receiver. They just lost A.J. Green, who's been there since 2011. So this pairing Chase on one side and then T. Higgins on the other side, that's 2 big-time wide receivers you have for Joe Burrow to get going with his NFL career. So I'm going to plug Chase in for number 5.
Looking at they can go left tackle, receiver. I'm going Jamar Chase as well. I think it makes too much sense in a way. He was an absolute beast with him in LSU. Like you said, A.J. Green's gone. I think it's the perfect pick. The only thing that's stopping me from picking a left tackle that position is that this class is very deep in O linemen. So I feel like obviously they've got the 33rd pick, which is essentially a late first-round pick. They can easily grab someone there, I think. So, you could go left tackle, and that would also be a good pick, but I think you have the chance to grab one of the premier, if not the most premier wide receiver in the draft. You just lost your decades-long receiver. Let's go with Jamar Chase. I agree.
And you mentioned Chris Sims earlier. I was watching his podcast earlier, and that's something that he mentioned is if you know you're going to get a wide receiver and a tackle with your first 2 picks, and you have a chance to get a game-changing wide receiver and a good tackle, or a great tackle and a good wide receiver, why not get the guy who can break the game wide open and then get, the very good player at the tackle spot?
Correct. I mean, you don't necessarily need a great left tackle. You can get a pretty good one. That's just as good.
Right.
But I agree with that mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need an incredible left tackle to have a good offensive line. But if you have a game-changing wide receiver, that can be the difference between winning and losing, however many games.
Yep, absolutely. At number 6, we've got the Miami Dolphins, who traded back from their pick. This is an interesting one for me because I feel like the Dolphins could go a lot of ways with this pick.
Mm-hmm.
There's debating on who you have left on your board. There's receivers, there's corners, there's tackles. I mean, there's a bunch of ways they can go. I want to shake it up a bit here. I think the Dolphins are going to do something a bit different. They're going to take Jalen Waddell from Alabama. I like the Tyreek Hill comparisons. They've already got weapons for Tua. Let's add another one. Let's put him on the spot and say, hey man, we built this whole team around you. Let's see what you can do. So that's who I like at number 6 for the Dolphins.
Interesting pick. I really like Jalen Waddle. I think he's, people are forgetting about him because he's coming off of that injury. But
Correct.
If you think back to the beginning of the college football season, Devontae Smith was an afterthought, and it's because Jalen Waddle was such a beast.
Yeah.
He was the better of the two receivers, and we all know what happened with Devontae Smith as far as winning the Heisman and Biletnikoff and all the other, awards he won. So with that being said, I like that that you haven't forgotten about him. I had him going a little lower, actually, number 11 to the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
I put Kyle Pitts in there.
That's a steal if it gets that far.
Yeah, and that's my thought is if you're going to have – I have quarterbacks in my top 4 spots, so that's going to push the best players down in the draft. And Jamar Chase, who, we had at the last pick, and Kyle Pitts with this pick, might be the 2 most talented players in this draft. And, I've sat here for 2-3 weeks now and talked about how amazing I think Kyle Pitts is. So, I think we could look back and he could be the best player to come out of this draft. And I think if you are Miami or even Cincinnati and you have the opportunity to draft a player like that, at the end of the top 5 or outside of the top 5, I mean, you have to do it.
Oh, Dave, I forgot to ask you. Do you like Kyle Pitts as a prospect?
Who? Yeah, I like Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is the man. Kyle Pitts is the man, dude.
Even though I don't think the Panthers are going to pick him, obviously, I think he's going to be a very good prospect. I've fallen. I don't want to say I've fallen in love, but I've really grown to like his.
Just say it, man.
I've really grown to like his abilities as a player. So whoever he goes, I think is going to be a beast and someone I'm definitely going to target on my fantasy team. Little sleeper there.
I love Kyle Pitts.
He loves Kyle Pitts.
I'm gonna say it, and I mean
there
it.
You go.
I'm gonna say it with my chest.
Say it with his chest. All right, so this is an interesting pick. The Detroit Lions at number 7. I swear, I never know what the Lions are ever going to do with anything. With the amount of top picks they had, they should have a Hall of Fame undefeated team.
Yep, right there with the Jets, Super Bowl every year.
They have not done that. So, what do you think the Lions are going to do? I mean, there's a bunch of ways they can go. I mean, they're not really bad in areas, but they're not great in areas. I haven't watched a lot of Lions games, but what do you think they're going to do with that number 7 pick?
I think there's a very high chance this pick gets traded just in time to screw the Panthers over.
Yes.
With that being said, for the sake of this, I'm going to say they're going to go Penei Sewell. Boost up that offensive line. When you're a bad team who's bad everywhere, the best thing you can do is beef up your line, and you're going to get better. So, I think this is if they want to become a better team, a more physical team, which they say they aim to be, this is the perfect first step.
I like that pick a lot. I think you're also correct in saying that this could be the first, maybe not the first pick, but one of the first picks that can be traded. I think the Lions kind of don't really know what they want to do at this spot. So I could totally see them just trading the pick down for more picks because they need help anywhere they can get. And if they do trade down, whoever needs a quarterback is going to jump up to the spot. I think that's pretty clear. Don't know who that'll be, though. But for the sake of this, let's say they stay put. When you're bad in a lot of areas, like you said, you can kind of pick anything. You can beef up your line. Well, if you just got a different quarterback, let's get him some help. Give me Devontae Smith. I think, why not? They haven't had a game-breaking receiver since Megatron retired. I believe what's his name just left. Who was the receiver for?
Was it Marvin Jones?
It was either Mark. No, I think he already left. It
No,
was Kenny Galladay, I think.
Kenny Galladay. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he just left. So they've got no one to throw to. Jared Goff does. He's going to need all the help he can get. Why not give him who's the guy that's the Heisman Trophy winner who can be a great receiver? So that's my pick.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't want to bring this up because I don't feel like it's fair to Devontae Smith, but I can't not bring it up. Does his 168-pound frame concern you?
It doesn't, because in no time that guy's going to be like 185, 190.
Yeah.
Within the span of an NFL season. And, he was playing against some of the best defensive talent in all of college football. I didn't see any injury concerns. The guy's got insane speed. Would you like him to beef up? Yeah, and he probably will. So that's not really a big concern to me. A lot of receivers are generally smaller anyways, but I don't think it's a concern. I think he's going to be fine. I mean, Panthers related, people were scared about Brian Burns not putting on weight. Dude's a freaking beast now. So,
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. At first it was a little concerning to me, but then I got to thinking about it a little bit more. And, I thought about Deshaun Jackson. He was real small like that whenever he came out of college. And, if you're good enough, you can make it work, I think. So,
I think so.
Yeah. Good luck to him.
Absolutely. All right. We have come to the most important pick of the first round. Screw all the other 31 teams. I'm going to let you do the honors.
Well, I noticed
who are the Carolina Panthers taking with the number 8 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft?
I noticed there's a certain guy still on your board, Tanner.
Yes.
There's a certain guy still on my board, too. And it took all the wishful thinking in the world and all the bias mocking in the world. But I still have Justin Fields here, and I'm going to send him to the Carolina Panthers with the 8th pick.
All right. Explain yourself.
In what way? The Carolina Panthers need a franchise quarterback. This guy, to me, I don't get what all the problems are. I think he's got it all. I think he can throw. He's 240, 4.4 speed. I don't agree with a lot of the criticism about him being able to read defenses. In my opinion, this dude is like what you want. He's the perfect quarterback prospect, in my opinion.
But what about Sam Darnold?
Here's what I think about Sam Darnold. In the perfect scenario, well, let me backtrack. I think Sam Darnold, and I think we said this, last week on the podcast. If anything else, he's an insurance policy. So if the draft doesn't fall your way, you have a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to now, best case scenario is you still get that quarterback and you have Sam Darnold. Those two guys go into camp together. They battle it out. You get towards the end of training camp or the end of the preseason. Sam Darnold comes out and shows he can play. And then something pops up. Somebody needs a quarterback. And you're willing to take Sam Darnold and trade him away for more than what you gave up. That's the ideal scenario if we draft a quarterback with the eighth pick.
I love the pick, but I did not pick.
This is shocking to me, Tanner. This is shocking.
Because as much as I want this to happen, I think this is a dream scenario. Like everything you said, I completely agree with. I would love for this to happen. I keep trying to get myself hyped up with the idea of the Panthers drafting Justin Fields at 8. And, I think Sam Darnold's going to be a very, very good player if he does end up being our starter. But I think if you get to the point where that guy's there, you got to do what's best for your football team. And I think that would be a great pick. However, I don't believe the Panthers will go that route. I just don't. I hope they do, but I don't know if they will. So that being said, I think either someone is going to trade up for him before this pick happens, or he's going to fall to someone very, very close to this pick. So all things considered, I'm going Penei Sewell, number 8 for the Panthers. This has been my dream pick since the Sam Darnold trade.
Since you gave up on Justin Fields?
Yes. And listen, I'm not giving up on Justin Fields. I want him to go to Carolina. I just don't think it's going to happen. Really, I don't think it's going to shake out that way. Now, if it happens the way I think, we get Penei Sewell, we just got the best left tackle prospect in a long time for the next 10 years. Even if you rather have Justin Fields than Sam Darnold, we still get Sam Darnold, and we've got someone to protect him. We haven't had a good left tackle in forever. So I think this is a great move. He's probably one of the top 2, top 3 prospects in the draft. You get him at number 8, rock solid guy. He can play anywhere. That's what I think will happen or hope to happen.
Yeah, and by no means, if that happened, would I be upset as a Panthers fan. I mean, Penei Sewell's a beast. We've been needing a left tackle for years. I've complained and moaned and, thrown couches and TVs over our left tackle position.
Then we all have.
For years. So if we can land an anchor at the left tackle spot, I'll be glad to have him for sure. But as we inch toward this, man, I don't know. I'm thinking Justin Fields is, if by some miracle he's there, and for some reason people seem to believe that could happen, I just don't think you can pass on him. I think he's going to be awesome.
Now, what would your mindset be if at number 8 he's there and the Panthers just don't take him and they take someone else? Would that make you say they're more comfortable with Darnold and they're more questioning Justin Fields? Or like what would your mindset be there if he's there and they just straight up don't take him? No one trades up, just don't pick him.
I would be shocked. But I also think if they don't draft him, I mean, I feel like there's a strong chance they could trade back. But I think our coaching staff does a really good job of seeing the bigger picture.
Correct.
And I mean, it's a team game. So if you can get a guy like Sewell or a guy like J.C. Horn, it's going to help your football team. It's going to help your team. So, we get so caught up in the skill positions and the quarterbacks, but it's a team game. You look at the 2000 Ravens won the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer and one of the best defenses, probably the best defense that's ever touched an NFL field.
Correct.
So I'm not going to be mad if we pick a good player at that spot. I can't be mad at that. And I understand it, because I'm real high on Justin Fields. But I am concerned about this report that he has been dealing with epilepsy. That's very interesting. Because apparently it's been going on for years, but it's just never come up. And I don't think he wanted it to be public knowledge from what I understood. So
it's weird because a lot of, I think I mentioned this earlier a couple of weeks ago, is that when draft time comes around, they will ask you all kinds of random questions like, hey, what did you eat 2 weeks ago at this time? Like just really, really random stuff. And some, And I think guys take it. Some guys might take it personally, and I think it sucks for him because that's something he probably wanted to keep to himself, and that's totally fine because everyone has their own privacy. Um, and it sucks because but at the same time, the guys, they're investing a lot in you. They want to know every single detail. They want to act like you are their child. They know everything about you. So I get it,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be tough. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's some. I mean, it seems like something he's done well with before, but some people might think it's a bigger concern than others.
Yeah, that's a wild situation. And when I heard that, I was like, well, is he going to get drafted at all? Because, I mean,
Yeah.
that, from what I understand, which, I could be way off because I'm an idiot, but, that means he could have a seizure at any time, right? And playing under all those big lights and sounds and, these types of things could trigger it. I mean, what do you do if you're an NFL team and you're in the middle of a game on Monday night and he just collapses on the side of the field?
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about, and that might be enough to scare some teams.
So,
I don't know.
but being that he's got this far, it makes me think like it's not
It's not really a big deal. Yeah,
that serious, but at the same time, so it's like you hear that and it's like I guess there's just so many different degrees of how to take. I don't know. It's just weird for that to come out right before the draft.
I agree. But before you know it, there's someone posted a video of you smoking a gas mask live on TV hours before you get picked. I mean, you never know what's going to come up during the draft.
I
It's
know
it's
that's right.
blackmail. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So obviously, different opinions there. I think either way, if they go either way on that, it's pretty hard to mess up. They could pick Penei Sewell. They could pick Rashawn Slater. They could pick Justin Fields. They could pick J.C. Horn. I don't care. They're all going to be good players, but we will see what happens. So next we have the number 9 pick, and that's where I have Justin Fields going off because there's absolutely no way he's getting past the Denver Broncos. The Drew Lock thing has been a disaster. This seems like the most Denver Broncos pick of all time. If he gets there to number 9, that's who they're taking.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I don't see any way he can make it past them, which would be kind of annoying because that's where I'm kind of thinking Teddy Bridgewater would land. So we need those quarterbacks off the board.
Correct.
But I had Micah Parsons right there. The consensus best linebacker in this draft. I think if the board falls the way I have it, they don't really have a quarterback to take there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had them getting the best, defensive player they could get their hands on.
That also seems like the most Broncos thing to do is I feel like every year they have a very good defense, and then every year they're picking defensive players. I don't know.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, Bradley Chubb, and then I could see them totally going Micah Parsons, which would be a great pick as well.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, Teddy's suiting up for him next year.
Hopefully. But it would be an absolute steal if my prediction's correct and they get Justin Fields and they move on from the Drew Lock situation. I think that's because he's already got Cortland Sutton. He's got Jerry Jeudy. You give him, those are 2 pretty decent weapons starting off. They've already got a solid defense because that's all the Broncos have really been missing is just that quarterback's just kind of held them back. So I think that would be an absolute steal if they get him. And hopefully they don't because, we hate the Denver Broncos.
Sure do. Always have. Always hated the Denver Broncos. Always hate the Denver Broncos, bro. All right. You want to look at number 10?
Number 10, this is the most mocked pick I've seen out of all the mocks. Every single
I haven't seen it, but I bet we have the same one because it seems
99% of mock drafts have this guy going to the Cowboys, and it just makes perfect sense because they need this position. I have them picking Patrick Surtain. I'm assuming that's what you've got to.
That is what I got to. And I've talked to one Cowboys fan, and that's what they told me. And, I look at it from a mile away, not giving a donkey poop what the Cowboys do, and it just makes sense to me. So that's what I put at number 10.
Hey, they could go him or J.C. Horn, but I think, unfortunately, I have watched a lot of Cowboys game the last year just because they're on TV all the freaking time.
Right.
Their defense was horrendous, and They need a corner bad, so why not pick up arguably the best corner in the draft? It just makes too much sense. They
Yeah.
got Dak Prescott back. The offense is loaded. They don't need weapons. They can score. They got to be able to stop people from scoring on them. So I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that because just kind of from the beginning, Surtain seems to have been like the top corner on most people's boards. But personally, I like J.C. Horn more. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see if, because it's obvious they're going to go corner. It's going to be interesting to see, and they'll probably be the first team to go corner.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if they have him at the top or if they have somebody like J.C. Horn at the top of their board. You know what I mean?
Correct. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep your eye on. I think they're going to go corner, just as a matter of which one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our top 10. Nothing too crazy. Obviously, there's probably going to be half of those wrong.
Yeah. No,
But
it's a good place to stop because at that point we've probably all of them have half have been wrong anyway. So
absolutely. So yeah, I like what we did. And I was going to ask you about this on the Panthers pick, but I kind of forgot to mention it.
okay.
A lot of rumors today about them and the Patriots
Mm-hmm.
possibly doing something. What are your thoughts on that? Because we all know if the Patriots are trading up, they're probably going for a quarterback.
Yeah. I would hate to see it, man, because I've said it.
Yeah.
I've said it for weeks now, man. I really want to see Cam get his chance because I feel like he's got the short end of the stick for a few years in a row now.
Yeah. I think that they would have to give us a very good deal for that. People are talking about Stephon Gilmore, which would be nice, but at the same time, that's a lot of cap you're taking on. I wouldn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I don't want to go that far down in the draft. We could still get someone good, but not as good as we could at 8. I think it's okay to entertain offers, but I don't want to do that trade. I don't want to go that far down. The furthest I would want to go would be like going down like a pick or 2 at the most. But I wouldn't want to go from 8 to 15, I believe is where they're picking.
Yeah, it would be interesting if, we decide that, either we don't want to go quarterback or there's, one quarterback on the board and we're not interested. It would be interesting to see what it would take for us just to flip picks with the Broncos.
Correct. And that's something that I definitely thought about because let's say we're at 8 and we know that we're not going to take Trey Lance, Justin Fields, whoever's there. Let's just say we already know that they're not going to do that, but the Broncos might not know that.
Right. Well,
what's stopping them?
Even if the Broncos know that, there still creates a bidding war between, if New England did want to move up, if it was New England or whoever, Denver would still need to move up that one spot just to not let them get the pick.
Correct.
So,
and I agree. I think there's a good chance that could happen. But we get one of those picks back. I'm not a big proponent of like stocking up on like second and third round picks in drafts. It looks good on paper, but man, if you are there at a premium spot in the top 10 and you're going to get an all-pro player, I think unless it's a mega trade, I think you need to stay put.
Yeah, I think there's a certain spot, and I think Fitterer kind of talked about this in his press conference, was once you get to the end of the first round, it kind of makes more sense to trade back because that's kind of where you get into that, tier 2 type of player. So
Correct.
If you can stay in that range when it comes to the type of player you're getting and pick up more picks, it makes sense. But if you're, at the top of the draft like we are in the top 10, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to trade back down to, 23 or whatever to gain a couple extra, day 2 picks or, whatever you're getting.
Correct. I agree with that 100%. And I don't think we will. I think we'll stay put where we're at. So that's our mock for the top 10. Obviously, some good players left on the board there. I think this is going to be the first time in a while we don't see a running back go super early because there's not really a deep class as far as running backs. But Yeah,
Who
we'll
do you
see.
think will be the first running back off the board? Najee Harris?
Probably. He's really the only running back I know, other than the running back out of North Carolina, who's supposed to be going maybe late first, early second.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there was also I think his first name's Travis Etienne from Clemson.
correct.
I think both of those guys could possibly go in the first round. Um, I think Najee Harris is probably the top running back by most people's standards.
I agree.
There's
So
a
yeah,
there's a guy while we're on the topic from Buffalo. Forgot his name, but I'm interested to see because they only played like a 6-game schedule last year.
hmm
But I think he had like 19 touchdowns, and he averaged like 8 yards a carry or something. I can't remember his name, but it'll be real interesting to see how high he might go and what he might be able to do in the NFL.
I hear you. Yeah, definitely keep our eyes on that for sure. Um, so that's our top 10. Now let's talk about the later rounds. Um, and obviously, whenever we do the first round, we're going to come on and do a show strictly based on that first round, and then we'll do a show reviewing everything and doing the second, the third, the fourth round picks. But the big show is the first round, guys. In those second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh picks or rounds, I'm not going to ask for prospect names, but what positions do you look at to be filled? What's something that you want to heavily attack?
Well, in all honesty, to me, it's not quite all about the positions you get. It's about the type of players you're getting. It's about, I know they're big on culture, and building the right type of culture and bringing out the right type of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, honestly, to me, I think that's what separates successful teams from unsuccessful teams is because every player in this draft, in every draft, they're all incredible athletes. They're all, have the amazing speed, this athleticism, whatever the measurables. But at the end of the day, it's the teams who find the players who are going to come in and work the hardest, play the smartest, play for each other. These are the teams that win. So for me, a successful draft is finding those guys rather than just finding certain positions. If I had to pick some positions I want to see us grab, obviously we need offensive line help. Personally, I'd love to see us spend a lot of picks on the defensive side of the ball. We had that all defensive draft last year. And I think because our defense, steadily improved as the year went on and in a lot of ways performed above the level of defense that they were. I think people forget that we were still really bad on defense. So I would like to see us bring in some more defensive players.
That might be the best 2 minutes you've ever done in your entire life. That was spot on. I really liked your rant about the finding good guys for your culture and for your team, not necessarily filling for picks or positions. That seems like a very Matt Rule thing to do. And I think he's going to be a great coach. And I think that's what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's find guys that are going to be the best for us, not just position wise. But if I do have to talk about positions, stuff we need, apparently this draft has got some some decent corners in the later rounds. I'm all about adding corners. I think in this day and age, you can find a very, very good linebacker in the middle rounds. I think that's a position that we're not highlighting enough. I think we need
Yeah,
a good linebacker.
I agree.
And then with those later picks, man, let's take some chances on some linemen, some O-line, D-line, some secondary guys. I mean, I'm all about going all defense again because even though our defense was better, it still could be better. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we'll probably get another playmaker or two. It'd be nice if we can pull another Jeremy Chin out of our ass in second round pick, get someone that's a baller.
Yeah, it would be nice to do that with every pick.
Yeah.
Find a
So,
random, Pro Bowl type player just from a random D2 school, D3,
exactly.
whatever he was.
So yeah, if we look at our defense now, you've got Derek Brown, you've got Brian Burns, who is a beast. You've got Gross Matos, who came along at the mid to the end of the year. I think he's going to be a very, very solid player. I think he's going to be a starter next year. Then they got the guy they just signed from Tennessee as a D tackle. He's
Yeah, we
supposed to
didn't
be
even
a very
talk
good.
about that. Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to talk about that. He seems like a very solid player.
Yeah, he's gonna be a solid piece, and we needed that too. As soon as we let go of Zach Kerr, we talked about it last week. What are they doing at defensive tackle? And I think it might have been the next day,
I think it was, yeah.
and
It always happens.
they found an answer for us, which is good because I was concerned about it.
Yeah. And then you got Shaq at linebacker, just a solid piece. Then you've got Denzel Perryman, who, despite his injury history, when he's healthy, is a pretty good linebacker, a good vet. That leaves Jermaine Carter at a spot. I like him, but I think we can get someone that's even better, maybe. And then we look at the secondary. We've got I don't know who's going to be our free safety. Probably Justin Burris, I'm assuming. And then you've got obviously Jeremy Chin. Then our secondary, our corners. We've got AJ Boye, solid vet. And then we got Dante Jackson. We know what he is. Jekyll and Hyde, boomer bust. I wouldn't mind adding another good corner or a good linebacker in this draft.
Yeah, I'm all about it. With the defensive backs and the linebackers as well. And I think the kind of what I picked up off of watching them play last year in Phil Snow's defense, his defense is very – I think I made this reference, in the past. I mean, it's like he wants chess pieces,
Yeah.
He'll roll out there all of a sudden on, 2nd and 12, and you'll be like, why are there 3 safeties on the field?
Yeah.
He'll just do a lot of weird things with moving guys around. So I'm not so sure that we need to spend so much attention or focus so much attention on the positions we're getting, but the players we're getting. Because I don't think whatever their label is, their position, whether they're listed as a safety or a corner, I don't know they're necessarily going to play right in that spot to fit that mold. If you look at Jeremy Chin, he's a safety, but he played in the slot. He played weak side linebacker. He played safety. I'm sure he probably played corner at some point on the outside. So, I just think that's kind of more of what they go for. And I think Justin Burris is kind of that way too. When it comes to those guys on the back end, I think they like guys that they can just move all over the place.
I agree with that 100%. I think in today's game, a lot of guys are – like you said, the chess pieces, the hybrid type players, the guys that they're safeties, but they can play a little weak side linebacker. They can play some corner. They could blitz the hell out of the quarterback whenever they need to. And I think Chin did a lot of that last year. So I agree, not necessarily focusing on we need a outside corner. Let's just get a corner or a guy or a safety, someone that's athletic that we can put out there and move around. I like that a lot. I think that's the route they went last year, and I could see them definitely going that route again. It seems like that's what they want to do.
Yeah. And I think of, teams like New England who have been so successful on defense, for the past, forever. It kind of goes back to, Sam Darnold's famous quote, "I'm seeing ghosts."
Correct.
If you look at that game, and not just that game, but what New England's done for the past, however many years, there's times where they'll put 2 guys down on the defensive line, and then there'll just be 9 guys behind them, just, every which way standing up. You can't figure out who's coming from where, who's dropping here, who's covering who. And, when you have all the athletes on the field on defense to create that kind of confusion, I mean, it sets you up for success on defense because you can apply pressure. You got people covered, quarterbacks are confused, and, it's worked for them. And I think that's kind of something that Carolina in a lot of ways wants to try to do moving forward.
I agree 100%. I think that's the way they're going, and there's a lot of guys that now are super athletic that you can just take and you can move around. So I'm honestly, there's not one position that they could pick where I'd be kind of pissed. Hey, we think that we can get another good wide receiver. Sure, why not? We think we can get another good defensive end. Sure, why not? I mean, there's a lot of ways that can go with it that I wouldn't really be upset about.
And that's the thing. the point I was making earlier, you can't have too many good guys. You can't have too many good players. Don't focus on positions as much as you want to this time of year because we need this, we need this, we need this. A lot of times when teams go into a draft and they say we need this, 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 and this, all those guys suck because they didn't draft the best players they could get. They drafted for the positions they felt they needed. And then
Correct.
they've taken 2 steps back because now they have nothing.
Correct. I agree. Yep, I agree 100%. So, and I think we've got the right people in position to know that we're picking the right spots. So, yeah, with that being said, we've done our mock, we've done, what we want to look for in the later rounds. We've talked about some trades. As far as the draft goes, obviously it's tough to say what the guys are going to be like. What's your, on a scale from 1 to 10, what's your excitement level for this draft class? I know, there's times where the draft classes have been like super stacked and you're very, very excited. You're like a 10 out of 10. Or, there's times like, it's not a great draft class, but there's some guys. What's your level of excitement and interest with these guys here at like a 1 to 10? What do you think this class is,
You look
going
at
to
the
be?
top, it feels like, this class has as much potential as any.
Yeah.
There's the quarterbacks. There's been so much hype about that because so many teams are competing for these, 4, 5, 5, 6, whatever, however many guys there is, and it's just, it's created this palpable buzz, surrounding this draft. But you look at the other guys away from the quarterbacks and the skill positions. I like a lot of the corners. It feels like there is a real potential to have some real stars come out of this draft. So I'm gonna go with a, I don't know, 8.8.
I think this will always be known as the Trevor Lawrence draft. I've said that before.
Yep.
But any class that has this quarterback heavy is exciting because that's the most important position in football. It's the most highlighted position in football. People like to see the quarterbacks. It's just a popular position. So if all these guys end up doing well, that's good for this class. But aside from the quarterbacks, we've got this guy, Kyle Pitts, could be one of the best tight ends of all time, talent level wise. We've got great receivers everywhere. We've got great offensive linemen. We've got very, very good corners. I think that this is going to be the maybe not the biggest. It has potential to be like the most star-struck class, but I think it's got at least the potential to be very, very, very good players all around. I think players from 1 to 15, it's going to be hard to mess up. I think a lot of guys will pan out on the positive side rather than the negative side.
Yeah. And if the rumors are true that we're going to trade back, that's a good case for trading back. Is seems like there's a lot of guys who are going to work out. So
Correct. So,
what's your 1 to 10? You didn't give me a number.
6.9. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with a 9. I'm gonna go with a 9. I think this is gonna be a very good class. I think it's gonna be a very underrated class. And to bring up classes, I think I always talk about this for the longest time with people, but I never really got anyone to join on the bandwagon with me. The 2011 NFL draft is the greatest draft in NFL history.
I haven't done enough research to confirm, but I can definitely agree that it's up there.
Man,
I think, what is it? Was it 84, 87? Was that the one with
yes.
all the great quarterbacks?
Let me just pull it up on my
What was it? Were Marino and Elway in the same draft, I think?
yes.
I guess that must have been like 84.
Correct. So I'm trying to pull this up on my phone real quick. I saw it earlier, but I want to make sure I've got it. Of
Yeah.
course, my phone is being super
But
slow. But
I,
yeah, man.
I'm with you, man. 2011 had some studs come out of that class for sure. And it was led by the toughest decision in football: Cam Newton, Blaine Gabbert, or Jake Locker.
Jake Locker. Yeah, what in the world were we thinking? Let's see if I can get
Man,
this pulled up.
I've kept receipts, man. I still remember all the people who told me we need to take Blaine Gabbert.
Oh my goodness. I remember those. I wanted Cam Newton badly, and I think
You
I
know
don't
who
know
I
what
wanted
people.
before I accepted the fact that we were going to take Cam Newton? I
Who's
wanted
that?
Nick Fairley, the defensive tackle. I believe the Lions ended up drafting him, who was also from Auburn. I was real big on him because we had just drafted Jimmy Clausen, and I was so naive. I wanted to believe that was going to go somewhere, but eventually I warmed up to the idea of taking Cam Newton, and thank God we did.
All right, so I'm going to read off some of these picks from this 2011 class, and I love this class. I think about it all the time. It's special to me because obviously it's the Cam Newton draft. So obviously the Cam Newton you see now wasn't the Cam Newton that we had back then, but in his prime, I mean, hey, the guy was MVP. He was electrifying. He's been to a Super Bowl. He was,
You got it pulled up on Wikipedia?
yep, I do.
All right. Let me know. Let me know before you say it because I want to see how many of the Pro Bowlers I can guess.
All right, well, I'm going to go down the picks here well, first off, all right, so Cam Newton, number one, great player. Number two, Von Miller, Hall of Fame,
Yep.
linebacker, defensive end, whatever you want him to be. So you've got two great players off there. Marcel Darius, he was a very good player for a long time. I think he kind of fell off. I'm not even sure if
Did,
he's
did he ever make the Pro Bowl? He did,
I
right?
think he did. Yeah, I think it was an All Pro at one point or a Pro Bowler at least. So he was a very good player. I'm not sure if he's still on the team or what exactly his status is as a
I think
player.
he's fizzled out. I don't think he's in the league anymore. I could be
Yeah,
wrong, but I haven't seen
looks like he's yeah, he's not in the NFL currently, but he was a two-time Pro Bowler, first team All Pro. So I mean he made his impact. Patrick Peterson, great corner for a long time, obviously. Julio Jones, do I need to say anything? For the time before all the negative stuff happened, Alden Smith was on another level. He was amazing.
Yep.
Um, Jake Locker,
Wasn't
amazing.
AJ Green in there?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
I'm completely run over him. AJ Green,
I was
great
like, wait a
receiver.
second. I think you passed AJ Green.
So yeah, so then you've got Tyron Smith, Cowboys, going to be a Hall of Fame left tackle probably.
Yeah.
Amazing player. Robert Quinn, Mike Pouncey, Ryan Kerrigan, very good players. Have been to Pro Bowls before, very solid players.
Yeah.
Nate Solder, another very good player.
Yep.
Cam Jordan, another very good player. I mean, just look
Who
at
I
that
can't
first
stand, by
round.
the way.
Exactly. Jimmy Smith for the Ravens, been there for a long time, good player. Mark Ingram, not a great player, but he's been around.
Mm-hmm. Pro Bowl.
And then Cameron Hayward for the Steelers, great player. So, and then you go to the second round. You had at the time Andy Dalton for a while was a very solid player. Kaepernick before he got benched when he was on that run in the Super Bowl, he was a very good player. Kyle Rudolph, another good player. I mean, there's just this whole list is stacked full of people.
Yeah, it's insane.
Randall Cobb, very good player for a long time.
Yep.
Justin Houston, DeMarco Murray was very good for a while.
And what's that into round 3, right?
Yeah, that's into round 3. You got KJ Wright, round 4. He's been a solid player for the Seahawks for a long time.
Yep.
I mean, there's guys everywhere.
Hey, do us a favor while you're there. Can you read off the Panthers draft picks after Cam Newton?
I will not because we're not going to remember them. And the Seahawks in the 5th round picked Richard Sherman, borderline Hall of Fame cornerback. This class is stacked. Debate me.
I don't. It's not debatable. It's definitely up there. It's got to be.
So I just wanted to show my love for that draft class. I think they were awesome class.
Led by Superman himself.
That's right. That is right. So, but I think that's pretty much all I've got for today. I could go on for hours talking about this stuff, but enough's enough. I'm tired of the talking. Let's get to the damn show.
Yeah, man. Can't wait. I'm tired of waiting, tired of talking about it, tired of speculating, tired of trying to figure out what's going to happen.
I know. I'm tired of it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm off all day tomorrow, so of course all I'm going to be thinking about is that. I'm going to look at my 15th million mock draft that I disagree with. It is what it is. But I want to say thank you guys, everyone who's listened so far. Subscribe to our channel. We're really building up a good thing here. And now that we've got enough episodes out, we can finally start uploading them to other services, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, things like that. That's going to be happening very soon. I'm going to create an Instagram account. Also follow us on Twitter at Primetime Carolina. That's where my man Dave does his thing. And stay tuned with us on our social media. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff regarding the draft, maybe some live reactions. We're going to give you our instant analysis because I know all of you care. But it's going to be great.
Mom cares. She's a big fan.
Exactly. But it's good. It's going to be awesome, man. I think we're doing a good thing, and I'm pumped for this draft, man. I really am.
Yeah, me too, man. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody who's still here, listening to us. Appreciate you coming back.
Whole 6 episodes. I've been here from the beginning.
Yeah, man. I've always been a Primetime Carolina fan.
Always.
Day one. I was first one in the comments, bro.
But other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm pumped. Let's see what happens, man. I'm excited.
Yep, I'm excited too, man.
Penei Sewell, Justin Fields, or somewhere in between, I'm happy with it.
Yep, we're just here for the ride, man. We're just here for the ride.
I mean, either way, we're gonna win the Super Bowl, so I really don't think it matters.
That's facts.
That's facts.
All right, y'all have a good night. Appreciate you rocking with us.
That's right. We'll get up with you guys after the first round.
All right. Night, everybody.